How do you get your summer body? What's up, you guys? Hello, and thank you for being here. Thank you for requesting this short training. If you don't know me, my name is Courtney Miracle. I am a transformational life coach, and I also own a gym, okay? So if you know my story, I came from eating disorders. I came from body image disorders. I came from very strict background of really never enjoying the way I looked or feeling the way I wanted to feel. Okay. So when I say get your summer body, I want to be very clear that I'm not just talking about making external changes. Okay. So first I want to go through the top 3 reasons that people don't get the results that they desire. Okay. So the first reason is that we go on crash diets, right? We try and raise your hand, think to yourself, how many diets have you been on in your life? Okay. So we go on crash diets. We end up losing weight, gaining weight. And every time you do that, you reset your metabolic set point. Okay. And not in a good way. So that's the first problem is like, I'm going to do this thing for 63 days. I'm going to do this thing for 6 weeks. I'm going to do this thing for whatever. And then I'm going to go back to where I was. Okay. That does not work. So when I say create your summer body, I'm actually talking about creating a healthy body that you want to live in forever. Okay. The second problem is that often we think that I just want the external to change. And as long as the external changes, then I'm going to be happy. Okay. Well, I need you to understand that the external will never bring the happiness that you need from the inside. Okay. So when I'm talking about getting your summer body, I'm talking about doing it from the inside out and actually creating and becoming that person that you want to be so that the outside can show up for you. Okay. Because if you're just looking at the outside and hoping that you lose 20 pounds and that's going to change everything, it's just never going to work. Even if the outside changes, you're not going to find that happiness and joy that you desire. Okay. And then the third one is doing exercises that don't serve you, right? So there's multiple different ways that this can happen. It's the people that are doing too much intensity and their bodies are already stressed and overwhelmed. And so the exercise actually has the opposite effect. Okay. But then there's the other people of just like, you do the same thing, like you're dedicated and you're moving. And I love that. But you're not doing exercise that actually creates change. Okay. So for women, well, men also, but for women, and this has become more of a thing now of like understanding that you need to build muscle. Okay. Which means that you actually need to lift weights heavy enough to cause change in your body, because the secret to weight loss and to strength and to aging is to have muscle on your body. Okay. So it's understanding how do we actually like exercise in a way that creates a change that allows our body to build muscle, which changes our metabolism, but also just makes us stronger and healthier for the long run. Okay. So those are kind of the pieces, right? We're not eating enough. We're looking for that crash diet. Okay. We're hoping that the outside's going to make us happy and that we're not doing exercise that actually does us any good. Okay. So what I truly believe is that most of the world doesn't need more knowledge, right? You can Google, you can ask ChatGPT, like, give me the exact plan to do this for 63 days to get the summer body I desire. Okay. It can spit out a nutrition plan for you and tell you exactly what you're supposed to eat and what you're supposed to do. It'll probably even give you a workout plan. But the problem is that what the piece that's missing, and when we talk about what we do inside of our business, is that we miss a core awareness of who we are, what we're doing, how does our body respond, where's our stress, where's our sleep, how are we connected to our mind and our body, okay? So the biggest problem is not usually more education, but it's actually more curiosity for ourselves. Like, how do we get curious about ourselves, not the other person down the street, not the person that lost 100 pounds, but like yourself. What's going on in your world, right? So creating awareness and then creating curiosity and then looking at this as like, this is my journey into myself. And I always say, like, be your own science project, okay? So it's not usually lack of knowledge or lack of action for most of us, okay? But what it actually is, and this is what we do, and this is why what we do is different. I believe that there has to be a correlation, and I've seen it work time and time again. So it's not just a belief, it's a real thing, that we have to be taking action. But in those actions, like taking action, what are we doing? Are we looking at what we're eating? Are we moving our bodies? Are we analyzing how it's working? But on the other side of that, we've got to be doing the deeper work. We have to be going, well, what do I believe? What are my human needs? What are the stories attached to this? And when you do those things simultaneously, because here's the cool thing, when you start taking action, there's something called BITFAR that I'll teach you in just a second. But when you start taking action, all of a sudden, your beliefs, your stories, your values, all the stuff that's happened in the past, that shows up for you. And for most of us, we're like, oh, I just self-sabotage. I'm not dedicated enough, whatever. But it's not that. It's a lack of understanding of who you are and what you need. Okay. So when we work with clients, we take action. And then in those actions, we're like, okay, so what's showing up for you? What are your beliefs, right? So there's something called BITFAR. So imagine a BTFAR. So beliefs, thoughts, feelings, actions, and results. Okay. This, like, if you just understand this and you can do this work for yourself, this will change everything. So listen carefully. Okay. So most of us, we start with the R. This is the result I desire. I'm just going to use 20 pounds of weight loss. I want to lose 20 pounds. Okay. So we start taking action, right? And for most people, the actions are restrictive, right? I'm going to restrict my calories. I'm not going to have any fun. I'm not going to have a life. I can't eat carbs. I'm going to go to the gym 17 times. I'm going to do all of these things, right? So we start taking these actions, right? Which with the best intentions, right? These are good intentions. So we start taking these actions. And then all of a sudden we start having these feelings, and the feelings are like, oh, this is terrible. I don't have a life. This is no fun. I can't hang out with my kids. I just really want a glass of wine. Well, I can't have any chocolate, right? So we start having these feelings that feel constrictive and restrictive, and they don't feel good. And then the feelings and the thoughts, they go together, right? So you're having that, I don't want to do this. This sucks, right? Those feelings, you also have those thoughts, right? But I kind of just said what some of the thoughts were. And then we also start to think, well, this never worked in the past. Why would it work this time? My body just probably won't respond. It's probably me. My metabolism stinks, whatever that is, right? And so we start having these thoughts and these feelings, which then start to change the actions that we're taking. So then we're less consistent, and then we're less consistent. Then we talk bad about ourselves. And then when we talk bad about ourselves, we're less consistent, right? So we go through the cycle of just beating ourselves up. But what really needs to happen is we need to go down to these beliefs and these stories and go, well, what do I believe to be true? What do I believe I have to do to lose weight? What do I believe is possible for my body? What do I believe? Because if we don't know what those beliefs are, we can take all the actions in the world, but the thoughts and the feelings are going to change what you do, and then it's not going to work long term. Okay. So what I want you to understand is that when you start taking action and then you also analyze those other pieces, you do that deep work that only shows up when you're taking action. Okay. So when we coach, right, everything I do, so I do have a 9-week program, right, to get your quote unquote summer body, but my 9-week program is not go restrict yourself for 9 weeks, but instead this is what it looks like. Okay. So for everybody, there's 3 pieces. Okay. There's mentorship, which is actually like the piece, right? So the mentorship is one-on-one coaching where we sit down every week and we talk about what's going on in your life, because again, your life is different than Susie's life, is different than Bob's life, is different than everybody else's life. But, so you have mentorship. Okay. That is the glue in the accountability. I hate the word accountability. For me, it's I hold you capable. I ask you questions, I give you guidance, and we decide together what makes sense. Okay. So for the program, it always starts with awareness. So for everyone, I have them track macros. Start looking at your numbers, because I hear all the time, yeah, but I eat pretty well and I move. Okay, what does that mean, right? And so for most women, we're under eating. Honestly, for most guys, we're under eating, or we have way too many carbs or way too much fat, not enough protein. Like I could tell you, if you want to change one thing, track your protein, because I can almost guarantee that you're not eating enough protein. Okay, so we use a simple tool called MyFitnessPal. You can track your numbers. Now, I will say, if you go into MyFitnessPal, it's going to give you random numbers that probably aren't right for you. Okay, but week 1 for everybody, I have them track their macros. And this is not so that I can decide where their number should be. There's very scientific data on where those should be. But if you come to me and you're massively overeating, I have a client that just graduated from the program. When we started, her average protein intake was 41 grams. I would love to see her protein intake at 150 grams a day. But if I just said, hey, we'll call her Sally. Her name is not Sally. But if I just said, hey, Sally, I need you to go from 41 grams of protein. Now, next week, we're going to just dive right in and you're going to hit 150. What are the chances that she's going to be able to do that? 0. The chances are 0. No one is going to make that change. So I always start with awareness. Where are you? Okay. Where are you? Where do you need to go? And how do we step by step get to those goals, right? So what I start people off with is, okay, now you have awareness, what's in food? What are you eating? How much are you getting? Right? And everyone's always like, oh my gosh, that's crazy, right? So you have the awareness as the client, then you get to decide the next steps, right? So what I do is I step people into those numbers. And honestly, you guys, this is the coolest part, is that 99% of the people that work for me, I'm telling you to eat more, right? So it's not restriction, it's abundance. But that also triggers people. I can't eat more, and they get the results that I desire, because we've been told by the diet industry that we can't eat. We're not allowed to eat, right? So we look at, where are you? Where do you need to go? What's the first step? Okay. And then everything that I do is 1% changes. What is that 1% change you can make this week? So maybe the second week, it's just trying to hit the numbers. The third week, okay, did we get there? How are we feeling? How is it affecting us, right? So every coaching call is a reflection of what was our goal? What were we working on this week? And only one thing, not a million things. What were we working on? How did it go? Right? Then we talk about what's the next step, right? So it's a building system that over 9 weeks, I don't want you to ever have to track macros for the rest of your life. but maybe you do it for 9 weeks till you really get a grasp on, okay, this is what I need. This is how I feel. This is what makes me feel good. We start to understand that the nutrition we have the day before affects the workout we have the next day. But then we also get into, so we kind of start with nutrition because that's the simplest piece for most people. But then we're going to go into meditation. We're going to go into breath work. We're going to go into sleep. We're going to go into stress, because here's a spoiler alert. If you're stressed, your body is never going to respond. Right? And so that's why we meditate. That's why we do breath work. That's why we start moving. For some people, we back off their intensity because they're doing too much, and it puts them into adrenal fatigue, and it's not serving them, right? So we're looking at what's going to make you feel better in the long run. How do you understand what's happening in your body? Okay. So by the end of the 9 weeks, the goal is that you have all of the tools you need to never need me again. Now, do I want you to need me? Of course I do. But you have all of the tools. The sun is going down. It's fantastic. You have all of the tools that you need so that you can say, okay, if I need to shift this or I need to shift that, I understand my body. I understand stress. I understand sleep. I understand why I'm not sleeping. I know how to fuel my body. I know when to rest. I know how to listen. My mind and my body are connected. Instead of me forcing things, I'm able to lean back and breathe and open and be that person. Okay. So that's what it looks like. So it looks like we're doing, yes, I'm giving you workouts. If you're local, you come to us, that's even better, right? We're looking at what serves you. We're talking about your sleep, right? So we're doing this mentorship with all of those pieces. But then I have videos, right? This is the biggest thing for me that I've learned over the last 15 years is that I can teach you something on a one-on-one call. Okay, but that's not the best use of our time. So I have videos of beliefs and values and 6 human needs and all of these things that I teach inside of Shift, that when it shows up for you, I'm like, here's this resource, and you have your own document where everything lives. And I'm like, here's this resource, go watch this. And then you go watch that, and then you come back, and then we talk about it, and I ask you questions, and you get these breakthroughs. And it's beautiful, right? So that is kind of what it looks like. So at the end of these 9 weeks together, like that's the summer body, right? July 8th is kind of the middle of summer. So that's the summer body, is that yes, you've made changes. Yes, your body has probably changed, but it will continue to change. And so for so many people at the end of the 9 weeks, I'm like, I want you to write a letter to yourself from 6 months from now. Keep doing this stuff for 6 months. Come back and you will be a completely different human from the inside to the outside. Okay, so that's exactly what you need to do to get your summer body. You need to understand what your body needs. We need to understand how to move it in a way that serves you. We need to mitigate stress. We need to connect your mind and body. And then we need to know that this is a real change. It's not a quick fix. So I hope that helped. If you have questions, if you want to know what it looks like to work with us, how exactly you get started and what we do from there, just reach out. I'm happy to jump on a phone call with you. If you know me, you know I'm not a high pressure salesperson, but if you feel like I could help you and I feel like I can help you, we'll talk about exactly what that looks like. You can be local, you can be virtual, both are completely fine. So thank you for taking the time to listen. I hope this was helpful. I'd love for you to share with me what your biggest takeaway was, and I look forward to serving you and just helping you on your journey.